Hello, and welcome to Club Med. So we're going to do a few minutes of focusing on our breathing, or trying to focus on one thing. Yes, I've noticed how distracted you feel as you try and focus on one thing. So we're sitting today because we're doing seated Pilates in a minute, if you're joining us for that. Morning. So a few minutes of meditation before we go into our seated Pilates. So sitting on your chair, and come and sit towards the front of your chair. So if you sit too far back, it's quite easy just to go and your back touching the chair, and your lower back, your upper back probably sitting, resting on the chair and not your lower back. It's quite uncomfortable. So come and sit on the front of your chair. So you're on your sit bones and your feet are flat on the floor. Rest your hands wherever they want to be. They can be resting on your thighs or down by your side or in your lap. And if it feels okay for you, and if you're in a room that you can close your eyes and you feel okay to do that, if there's anyone with you, ask them if they want to join in. And if they can close their eyes for a couple of minutes and focus on their breathing. Not easy, no? Not easy. But doable. So just bringing that awareness to your breath. And see if you can breathe in through your nose and out through your nose. So see if you can do that without using your mouth. So no mouth breathing. Or if you do, notice if you prefer to do mouth breathing. So then slowly allow your eyes to open. And still being aware of your breathing. So can you open your eyes? So you're taking in the room around you. You can see the light coming in through the windows. Notice the colours that you see. What's the colour that you see first that hits your eyes? And notice, can you be aware of the room that you're in and be aware of your breathing at the same time? Yeah, can you notice your breathing and being aware of the room? And you can also be aware of your feet on the ground beneath you. Can you be aware of that as well? So you're trying to bring all these things together so you don't get lost up here inside all the craziness that's going on inside your head at the moment, especially if you're watching a lot of the news and the stuff going on. Can you take yourself away from that for a moment and being aware of what's going on inside your body and how your body reacts to life? Stress and worry and uncertainty. Do you feel it in your shoulders? Do you feel it in your jaw? Do you notice it as you hold tension down here in your gut? Do you tense up here? Do you tense up in your toes? Is it in your hands? Do you notice it in your breathing? So we're going to start with the feet flat on the floor and just rolling back and forwards. So notice your sit bones on the base of your pelvis and you just start rolling on the sit bones backwards and forwards. And notice as you roll onto the back of your sit bones, you tend to slump. So just allow yourself to slump. And then roll forwards. So when you roll forwards, notice that the chest and the heart lift. And you find that the lower back tends to shorten because it arches. Yeah. So you lift your tailbone and then roll onto the back of your sit bone. So you slump here and it puts a lot of pressure on your organs, pressing everything down onto your pelvic floor. And then you roll forwards onto the front of your sit bones and you notice that your heart lifts, but then the lower back gets quite tight. Excuse me. So you're rolling forwards and backwards on those amazing sit bones. So imagine that they're wheels on the car or on a bicycle, something like that. It's just rolling. And keep that quite smooth. How smooth can you allow that move to feel? And does one side feel the same as the other, or are you aware that you're leaning maybe onto one side more than the other? A lot of us, when we sit cross-legged, or we tuck the feet up underneath us, even when you sit on the sofa in the evening watching telly or something like that, or we have a habit of standing with one leg crossed in front of the other, or leaning into one hip, and so one side of the pelvis might be a little bit shorter than the other side. So now you're going to keep the pelvis in the middle and allow the head just to lift and lower. So the back of the head looks down towards the tailbone and then it looks up to the ceiling. So the back of the head looks down to the tailbone and then looks up to the ceiling. So it's quite a nice, simple movement. But you notice that your nose is going up and down as well, as if you're painting a line. And then can you take it further? So the next time the head looks back down towards the tailbone, let your heart lift. And then bring it forwards and let your heart go back towards your spine and your chin drops. Lift the head, let the back of the head look down towards your tailbone, let your heart lift. And then bring it forward so the chest goes down towards your heart. And the heart feels like it's pressing back between your shoulder blades. So you'll start to feel as you do this, we're not really talking about what's happening in your pelvis, but your pelvis will start to join in. So just allow the movement in your pelvis. So you feel that when you're dropping the chin down, you start to tuck under, the pubic bone gets a little bit closer towards your chin. And when the back of the head looks towards your tailbone, it's like the tailbone wants to look towards the back of your head, as if they want to meet. And then you let that go and the chin comes forward. And then you lift the chin and the back of the head looks back. And then you come back to what feels like the middle for both of them, and it's probably a lot easier. So grab your book. I said bring a book, and you know what I've done? I'm going to get my book. Okay, so grab your book and you're going to put it on one hand as if you're a waiter in a restaurant and you've got a tray of drinks on your hand, and they're the most expensive drinks in the restaurant, so don't drop them and don't spill them. Okay, otherwise you lose your wages and that's it. They'll kick you out. So you're going to push, if you're on an arm that doesn't feel like it wants to move very much, you'll probably only be able to do a little movement, and that's okay. And rest anytime you need to. You don't have to hold it here all the time. But if you can you push your tray of drinks up to the ceiling and bring it down a little bit. Pushing it up and bringing it down. So remember, if this is the arm doesn't want to move very much, you might want to just stay here. Lovely. And what you're going to do is keep the spine in the middle. So the spine's not going into any of this extension or flexion. It's staying where it is in the middle. So you're on your sit bones, your feet are on the floor, and it's just your arm that's moving. Now, if your arm can only stay about here, that's where I want you to keep it. But if it goes all the way up to the ceiling, I'd like you to keep it there and don't move it. So now you're going to let your head go back to the movement that we just did without your arm moving. Just the head nodding. So the back of the head looks towards the tailbone and then looks down towards your navel without your arm moving. So you're moving your neck and your head around the arm and the shoulder, the stability of it. So we're remaining stable. We're asking our brain to use our shoulder muscles to keep stable here as we move our head. Relax your jaw and don't hold your breath. Relax your toes. And then bring your arm down before it falls off and put that book on the other hand and take that hand up as if you've got that expensive tray of drinks. Now, if this is the arm that doesn't want to move very much, you just want to stay here. If you can take that arm up to the ceiling, then off you go and bring it down a little bit and bring it up. So you're moving it a little bit down and up. Don't drop the drinks. Your hand has to be quite flat, so you're really working on the wrist muscles. So if you were lying on your back on the floor and I asked you to lift up one foot and take your foot up to the ceiling and I had a book on your foot and I didn't want you to drop the book, you'd be working on your ankle muscles. So today it's all about your wrist and your shoulder. Think about your joints in the ankle and your wrist being very similar. So you're trying to hold the ceiling up. So we're going to stay up there. And remember, if you're about here, then that's where you're going to stay, but keeping the hand like that. Okay, so now you're going to let your head move. So back of the head looks towards your tailbone. And then you look down towards your navel. Up and down with your nose, keeping the arm where it is. And rest when you need to. If your arm starts to ache, bring it down. So you're working around the stability here of the joint in the shoulder as you move your head. It's going to feel a bit weird. And then come back down. So we're going to go back to the starting hand, which was your first hand that you used. Put the tray of drinks, your book back on there. Flex your hand so you have a nice flat hand. You're going to take your arm back up to whichever position it can go. If it's just here, that's fine. So the idea is to keep this stable, so don't lose the book. And you're going to go into the position that we were doing just now as well. Head moves, but your tailbone is now going to move as well. So your pelvis moves as well as your head. So when your chin drops, your pubic bone feels like it's coming up towards your jaw, and then the back of the head looks towards your tailbone, as if they're looking at each other. Can you do that movement without your arm moving? It sounds really easy, but when you're practicing it, it's really quite tricky to allow your neck to go into this movement and allow because we're now incorporating the middle of your back and trying not to move the shoulder. So we're trying to stay stable here. So there's certain muscles that keep this part stable, and we're trying to not incorporate everything else. We're trying to get everything else to move as we remain stable in our shoulder blade. Pelvis moves, head moves. Can you keep your book on your hand? Don't drop it. And then bring the hand down. Change hands, so put the book on the other hand. Take it up to the ceiling. So you feel like you're Statue of Liberty standing here. So nice and flexed with your wrists. Yes, so long fingers. Taking your hand up. Let the head and the pelvis move. Remember, if this is the hand that doesn't really want to move, our arm doesn't want to move very much, you want to be down here. Otherwise, you're all the way up there with your hand like that. Otherwise, your book will fall. And move the head and move the pelvis. So the head drops, the tailbone tucks under, your head lifts, your tailbone lifts. So you're moving, you're finding this mobility in your lower back and in your neck whilst you create stability in your shoulder. So muscles don't work on their own. They have synergists and antagonists. So they have muscles that help them move and muscles that help the other parts of the body remain stable. But sometimes if there's an area that's a little bit, if it's feeling tired, it can get tight. If it's feeling overworked or if it's feeling weak, and it will call to its synergists and its antagonists to help it. And sometimes it gets out of sync and the muscles that are trying to help it become overworked as well. And then they become tight. So that's what we're doing here. We're just trying to find some areas that we can find mobility in as we create stability here. So bring your arm down before it falls off. Okay, so put your book on one of your thighs and put your hands on top of it. Okay, so it's on top of one leg. Not on the top of the knee, but about halfway down your thigh. Doesn't really matter where it is, it's just resting there. And put both of your hands on top of the book. So just let your hands rest there and let your shoulders start to lift and lower. So one goes up and one comes down. Lovely. How far up does one shoulder go? How far down does the other shoulder go? And then let them go down, let both of your shoulders go down and let the back of the armpits squeeze and then release. So back of the armpit, squeeze and release. And when you squeeze the back of the armpits, feel that your shoulder blades are moving towards your spine. So you're reducing the space between your shoulder blade and your spine. Squeezing and releasing, don't hold your breath. Is your jaw relaxed? Are you relaxing your toes? Squeezing and releasing. And then come back to lifting, both shoulders down. Both shoulders lift, both shoulders down. Both shoulders lift, both shoulders down. And then go back to squeezing the armpits and releasing. So back of the armpits, so the shoulder blades hug your spine. So you get a little bit of movement of the arms coming back, so you open up the chest, which helps you breathe better in your lungs. Who doesn't want to breathe a little bit better in their lungs? I could do with all of that right now. So you have this open space here, and then let your shoulders relax. Okay, so your book here is on your thigh. So you're going to press your hands down into your book, as if you're trying to push your book down into your leg. And as you do that, you're going to see if you can lift your foot off the floor. So you're trying to stop yourself coming up. So lift your foot off the floor and then put your foot back down. Lift your foot and put your foot back down all the time. Now as you push your hands down, be aware your shoulders aren't up by your ears. Push the book down, you're just having that pressing down that's coming from your hands. Your shoulders stay down. Lift and lower your foot. One more. And then let that go. Put the book on the other thigh. And before you do anything on this leg, put this hand back on this leg. So you've got a hand on each leg, but this is on the book. And you're going to lean over as if you're looking over at your foot that you've just been working on. Lean over and come back. How far down towards your leg can you rest your body? Can you let your heart feel as if it's going over your knee? So you're working on your hips here. So leaning over so you fold from the top of your thighs. And then rest, hands on this book, push down, lift your foot, put your foot down, lift your foot, put your foot down. So you're pressing down, creating that resistance. Watch you're not holding your shoulders up by your ears. Relax your jaw and don't hold your breath. And then rest it. Put the book back on the starting leg. Put the other hand here, so you've got a hand on each. And then look over and come back. So you're leaning as if you're just trying to let your front of your spine rest on your leg. Folding from the hips, this is hip work, abdominal stuff and back stuff as well. Last one, and then come back to your starting leg, push down into the book, lift your foot and hold it there, and then bring your foot down. Push down into the book, lift your foot, and then put it down. So holding up for a bit longer. Push down into the book, lift your foot, put the foot down. One more, push down into the book, lift your foot, hold it there, don't hold your breath. Then let it go. Put the book on the other leg, hand on each leg, and reach over again, forwards and backwards. You might notice you're going a tiny bit further as we're releasing, by working on the leg, we're releasing some of the hip muscles. And then come back to the second leg, push the book down, lift the foot, hold it there, put the foot down, push the book down, lift the foot, hold it there, don't hold your breath, put the foot down, push the book down, lift the foot, put the foot down. You can do 2 more, push the book down, lift your foot, put the foot down, 1 more, push the book down, lift your foot, and then put the foot down, put the book on the other leg, hand on each leg, lean over, look at your foot and come back, lean over and come back, lean over and come back. So we're strengthening the quads, the leg muscles with the pressing down of the book and lifting of the foot, which helps to release the hips. So now we're just going to alternate. You're going to look over one leg and then you're going to come back and look over the other. Looking over the knee, coming back, look over the other. 1 more on each side. And then you come back to the middle. So put the book back on your hand, take the hand back up to the ceiling, the first arm. If it's down here, that's okay. If it's up there, that's okay as well. And come back to really now tucking under and lifting the head. So make the movement bigger. So rolling forwards and backwards a few sit bones and don't move your arm. Keep that book on your hand. And then bring it down, change sides, put the book on the other hand, take it all the way up there and lift and lower the head and move your pelvis. Tuck under, roll those sit bones forwards and backwards. Let your jaw relax, let your breath move through you so you're not holding onto it. Let your breath flow. Relax your eyes. Keep the book towards the ceiling. And then see if you can hold on to the book with both hands and just push it up, bring it down. And if your hands won't go very high, if your arms don't go very high, that's okay. Just go as high as you feel you can go without lifting your shoulders. And then you're going to hold the book and the ends. And if you can take your arms up to the ceiling, then do that. If they're here, then that's okay. Wherever is comfortable. And then move through the head and the pelvis, rocking forwards and backwards as you hold onto the edges of your book. As if you've got drinks balanced on your book, don't drop them. Head moving, pelvis moving around the stillness of your shoulders. And then come back and release the book. Put it down. Come back to your seated position, roll your shoulders. Take them back the other way. Let one go up and one go down, and then swap and swap. One up, one down, one up, one down. And then come back to resting your shoulders, bring the attention down to your feet. Let the heels lift and lower. Both heels up, both heels down. And notice what happens to the weight in your feet as you lift your heels. Where does it go? The ball of the big toe, the ball of your little toe. And let the heels stay down. Lift the front of one foot, put it down. The front of the other foot, put it down. So you're just on the heel, and then your whole of the foot's down, just on the heel, and then the whole of the foot down. So you're alternating from one foot to the other. And then we're going to finish off with a little bit of foot movement. So lift your right heel and the front of your left foot. So your left heel is on the floor and the front of your right foot is on the floor. Put them down. Lift the left heel, lift the front of your right foot. So the toes and the ball of the big and the little toe are lifted. Put them down. Lift the left heel, or the right heel, sorry. Lift the right heel, lift the front of your left foot. put them down. Lift the left heel on the front of your right foot and put them down. So you get the rhythm. So one heel lifts and the opposite front foot lifts. Put them down. Heel lifting, opposite foot, the front lifts, the front of the foot's lifting, and put them down. And just go walk through that movement, that pattern. That makes sense. And just notice where it becomes a bit tricky. And it's a pattern of walking. When your heel's down, the front of the foot on the other foot is lifting. It's hard to talk and do that at the same time. It's like patting your head and rubbing your belly. And then rest your feet. Come back to this little bit of moving forwards and backwards on your pelvis. A bit of rolling. Breathe out as you tuck under. Breathe in as you roll forwards onto the front of your sit bones. Breathe out as you roll back onto your sit bones. Breathe in as you roll forwards onto your sit bones. Relax your jaw, soften your face, and then come back to the middle. Well done. You didn't drop your book, maybe. Let me know if you did. That's okay. Hopefully you didn't drop it on your foot. Thanks for joining me today. And lovely. Well, nice to see you. Happy practicing. Take care. Have a good day. Bye.